the Boneyard Podcast, Lake Highlands Boneyard Podcast, and I'm here next to Coach Lonnie Jordan as we get you caught up on the comings and goings of Lake Highlands football. And Coach Jordan, good win, 42-7. Got to feel pretty good, I would think, and I'm sure there was a lot on film you could clean up and go back. But you know, one of the things you thought about was the fact that, I mean, it was that interesting day. You got a game on Friday, but the students are out of school that day, and then of course they're out today as we tape this on a Monday as well. How was the focus? Because I mean, you love to keep these guys in a routine. This changed the routine perhaps a little bit. Were you pleased with kind of the way everybody kind of stayed focused and stayed on schedule?
Yeah, I was, and it is. It's something that we never like to play on a school week where it's not a full week. You know, if just for that reason. I think kids are creatures of habit, and coaches are certainly creatures of habit, and so we like to keep a certain routine, eliminate distractions, and those sorts of things. And when you don't have school on a game day, it's hard for us to eliminate distractions because we don't know what's going on at home. We wanted one of the things we talked to the kids about leaving school on Thursday because the rest of the campus is going on a 4-day vacation. And kids are gonna stay up late. There's gonna be things going on, and at your buddy's house or whatever. And we wanted to establish a curfew for those kids. Get in bed on Thursday night just like Friday's a school day, and then. And then Friday we wanted them to get up in the morning, which is not, and we called some kids and tried to get them out of bed. Not that they were coming up to school, but we just wanted them to get up and start their day. What we tried to do is treat it as much like a normal day as we could. Now the coaches were all up here working. It was a teacher work day. But we brought the kids in at a normal time that they would come to athletics. And so as soon as they walked in the door, it was a routine for them. So it wasn't changed. There wasn't anything different. And I thought the kids handled it really well. They showed up, on time. Everybody was here. Everybody was able to lock in. And anyway, we were able to work that schedule and, get on the buses and get them to the game. So as far as a school holiday goes, I don't think it could have gone any better than it did. And interestingly enough, MacArthur was on. This is what used to be maybe when you were in school. I know when I was in school, you had a fall break. And this is the time of year when you would typically do that fall break. Well, Irving had early release on Wednesday, no school on Thursday or Friday. And I think they have this Monday off as well. So those coaches were dealing with that as well. But I thought our kids handled it great. I thought our coaches had a good plan for it. And to start the game, you mentioned it was 42-7, and we got out on them, 21-0 at half, and it was good. We felt like we were in control. One of the frustrating things for us was MacArthur had really a pretty good game plan. They moved so slow. They let the time run off the clock before they snapped the football, and so. In the first half, we go into halftime 21-0, and it really executed everything that we had done offensively.
Yeah.
But we'd only run 25 or 26 offensive plays at halftime. Well, normally, we've got anywhere from 35 to maybe 40 offensive plays by halftime. So it's kind of a frustrating thing from an offensive standpoint, just because they were holding the football. They were able to extend drives, whether it was through penalties or whatever. They had a fake punt in there, and they extended drives, and it kept us off on the sideline. But man, the defense played phenomenal. MacArthur averages 46 points a game, and and number one, that running back is an extremely talented kid. 22, the slot receiver, Wildcat quarterback. They bring him in to the backfield as well. He's having a great year. He's a special kid, and we were able to shut them both down. So hats off to Pascuzzi and the defensive staff and the kids and the way they played, because there wasn't anything for them all night long. And so really proud of our defense.
I saw Pascuzzi out in the parking lot signing some autographs before we were taping today. And but yeah, that was a high flying offense. They certainly, as you mentioned, a couple of the players they had I also think it's good that he's teaching his players how to draw like taunting penalties. You know, that one player, 22, kind of stood up and was flagged after a nice catch. I even thought, honestly, from a coverage standpoint, they made a couple of plays downfield, and even on those plays, you were, as you would say, in phase, pretty good coverage. You know, there have been some busts early in the year that you wanted to clean up, but I don't really remember anybody coming free. It just, they had a couple of guys that could make some plays.
Yeah, no, they do. They have really talented players and good scheme, but our kids were in position all night long, and that's a comfortable feeling for us, you know, that that our kids have, you know, when they're on the field, they're focused, and because they got in a lot of different formations and hid players and moved people around, and we were able to, you know, throughout the course of the game, our kids were able to just locate, you know, players, get lined up correctly, and then, you know, once the ball snapped, they, like you said, they were able to get in phase and make it difficult for MacArthur. So really proud of those guys.
Okay, we talk about him every week, but he is your defensive player of the week, Jalen Caton. I mean, you know, number 50 for people watching, and he's all over the place. And one of the fun things that your defense does is, in terms of kind of flying around, if one guy grabs a guy with a jersey and for somehow he slips out, the next guy kind of does the same thing and slings him down. It's kind of fun to watch that. I think one time it was almost kind of like somebody passed a guy off the Lucas Shaw, and then, you know, he slung a guy down, you know, deep in their territory at about the 10-yard line. So there's sort of a feeding frenzy that happens with this defense.
Yeah, and we had, you know, in preparation for the game, and of course our defense has a certain mentality, and part of that is flying around, pursuing the ball, and with players like they have, you know, one of the things we talked about was if you're the first man there, you know, you don't necessarily, your job is not necessarily to tackle him, it's to hold on, right? Get there, wrap him up, and then the cavalry's coming, you know. And so I think our kids had that mentality. We're going to pursue. If you can get your hands on him, you know, the next 2 and 3 guys are going to make sure that he's aware that Lake Highlands is in the building.
Yeah, and I think they certainly were aware of that pretty early. Some of us had a hard time getting into the building because of the Irving ticket buying experience, which, you know, I can foul up any experience, but on this one, I would input my information, and then I just one guy needing to get in, right? And then it would charge me for 7 tickets.
Oh my gosh.
So I kept, and Frito will love this, I had like the entire Irving staff at one point just kind of huddled around me trying to look at my phone. Some of them had never seen an Android. They're like, wait, what is this? What are y'all? And so anyway, got in there, and then that was great to see, you know, early strike. Ian Mowdy, I mean, and I will bounce around a little bit here, but the wide receivers, whether it be, you know, Jack or Trip Marshall, or, I mean, when you look at these games, it's got to be nice because, again, you're blowing some of these teams out. So Trip will only end up getting to throw about 11 balls. Well, you complete 8 of them, and generally it's 5 or 6 different receivers, and that has to be, I would think, a great trend as you point toward the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it's part of what we're trying to do, and we've talked on here each week about we have a talented group of kids, and they're good kids, and we want for everybody to get touches and have an opportunity to make plays in the game. And I think, you know, Friday night we had 5 receivers that got a catch, you know, or more than one catch, and you know, we didn't really drop balls, so we're running good routes, we're catching the football. When we have an opportunity to break a tackle, those guys are doing that. And so we had Schreiner with 2 catches, Ian Mowdy had 1 catch for 40, and the TD. You had Germany with a 29-yard catch, and then Shamar had 3 catches for 24. So you know, that's spreading it around pretty good. And then Trip Holly, just each week, you know, he just gets better and better, and he's recognizing defenses, he's recognizing coverages, he's moving well in the pocket. So, and this is what we wanted, right? We want to get better as we go, you know, as we go through the season. It's a little hard for these kids when you get into a game, and we got to play, you know, our starters were in, I think, through the 3rd quarter of this game, so that was good to be able to come out from halftime. you stay in that routine and that kind of that rhythm, and you're teaching your kids to come out in the second half and be as explosive or as competitive as they were in the first half, and so that's really good for us. And then the fourth quarter, we got to get some of our reserves in, and that's always great for the coaching staff. And I know there's a lot of parents that want to see their kids play, so we were able to do that in the fourth quarter.
We bring him up every week, whether or not he asked me to or not. But Deontay Dean did mention before the taping today, "Hey, are you gonna bring me up?" I love the kids that are listening, and a lot of folks have enjoyed the podcast, and so we appreciate that. But Deontay, another huge game, 232 yards. Dallas Morning News, honorable mention. And when you look at who they picked for those things, a lot of those kids are putting up enormous numbers, 230, 240 yards. The quarterbacks are throwing for 300 yards. So, and it's only a handful of people that they pick. So I'm glad they're noticing what he's doing. And, no matter the opponent, it just really seems like he's in a good rhythm right now.
He is, and so you look at Dallas Morning News and the players of the week and the kids that have big numbers, and go look at the games that those kids are involved in that are putting up these monster numbers, and a lot of times those are 50 to 49 wins, and the thing for Deontay here, he had 232 yards and 4 TDs, and really it was in 2.5 quarters, and then Deontay comes over to the sideline. So he's not playing a full 4 quarters, and if he were, you would think the numbers would be better. But Deontay understands that he's a team guy, and he gets it. And we were able to put Caden Bird in there, and Caden Bird had a carry and ended up getting a touchdown on one of his carries.
Number 30.
So really proud of him as well. But Deontay, 22 carries, 232 yards, 4 touchdowns. We couldn't ask for more. And Deontay he's a special athlete, and he's a great running back, and I think people are going to start taking notice of Deontay Dean.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And number 3, if you're at the games, you'll notice him immediately, and he takes off. And I think a homecoming game against the Richardson Eagles, why don't you go ahead and let him play, maybe into the fourth quarter a little bit, see if he gets up there close to 300, consider it. Okay, the Eagles have not always been kind to us, so at least keep that in the back of your mind. So, offensive line, those guys, and whether it be, it just seemed, and I saw some of them. They were all icing as I came up. It's funny who gets out of here the quickest. It's not the linemen. The linemen will linger a little bit. Okay, they need to be iced. One guy was just in the floor down. I'm like, I bet you'll have some couches or something. But he was in the floor relaxing, watching a TV show, just like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to rest for a little while. But part of the reason Deontay's having success is because they're blowing open some pretty big holes.
Yeah, they are. And you are exactly right. Offensive linemen aren't really in a hurry to get anywhere, except maybe the buffet. Right, they're whenever we feed them on a game day, they take off sprinting. They're the first ones in line. But any other time, it takes 3 or 4 coaches to get them moving. But offensive line is doing a great job. You mentioned Jalen Caton, and Jalen was, he was our defensive player of the week. He was unblockable on Friday night, and then turned around, came over to the offensive side, and just he's so smart, and he's fast. He runs more like a receiver, but he's playing offensive line, and he's doing a super job for us. Mark Quintana had another great game. He's one of our senior leaders. James Ward at center, big kid that can move the line of scrimmage, and so he's doing great things. Archer Davies is a captain at right guard, and Archer's smart and physical, and then you got Jaqueline Johnson, and Jaqueline is he's getting better. I think you saw him downstairs as you were coming in, but Jaquelin's a big kid, and he's getting better and better every week, and so the group is really gelling, coming together. We had an injury this week, and we're waiting to kind of see the severity of that, but Hayes Mall went down with a knee injury, and he's got an MRI scheduled, and so we'll find out more about that. But that poor guy was on crutches today, and so our thoughts are with him and his family. But boy, I tell you what, Hayes was playing really well too before he had to come out with that.
Yeah, it's you hate that, and you've had a son that's gone through that, a tough injury, and you want to keep them connected as best you can to the team and all that, but you have created some depth here, and I know he'll continue to be a big part of this team and the energy and that he brings and all of that. Okay, so on the on the other side of the ball, we talked a lot of offense. You talked about, I'm just kind of curious, Myron, I'm thinking about some of the big splash plays from that game. Myron McGee, and I'm sure some of his teammates are giving him a hard time because somebody tracked him down. But still, the play itself was really nice. I mean, he read the ball, came over, they floated that ball a little too much, and then just takes off. I mean, that was a huge play in the game, and I'm sure none of his teammates have brought up that he got tackled at the 2-yard line, but because he is speedy, and so that MacArthur kid must be world class to go get him.
Yeah, so you got 22 and 1 over there again from MacArthur that are track guys. They're just like Myron is. Myron's a track guy, and those guys throughout track season are competing against one another. Anyway, so they're all kind of elite, runners, and so. The guy had a good angle on him, and I think if we pick that thing off again, Myron gets in. But anyway, he did catch him, and I think it was 96 yards. Funny thing, Myron had an opportunity to pick one off earlier, so I was really proud of him. He had one that hit him right in the hands a little bit earlier in the game, and he missed that one. And instead of getting down on himself, he looked for the next opportunity, and they floated one out there, and he got underneath it and made a huge play. Myron did a great job. We had other guys that, we had a couple of interceptions that were dropped. I mean, this thing could have turned a whole lot faster, but we missed. We missed on a couple of those opportunities. But it goes back to our kids are right where they need to be. And so. The defense swarmed them all night long. Talked about Caton up front, putting pressure on the QB. He had 5 tackles, 3 solos. He had 5 quarterback pressures. He had 3 TFLs. I mean, he literally playing in their backfield all night long. Christian Tate back at nose, and so Christian is healthy now and was playing good for us. He had 4 tackles from the nose guard position, 3 solos, 2 quarterback pressures, and a TFL. Lucas Shaw with 8 tackles. Sam Hutton was back from injury. Sam Hutton had 7 tackles, 4 solos, and a pass breakup. And then, of course, you had Myron with the interception. You had Chung Leon with 7 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and 2 TFLs. And then Wesley Scott had 6 tackles, but he made an unbelievable play. They had a guy coming across the middle that had kind of popped open. Quarterback throws a good ball to him. And Wesley just really kicks it into another gear and is able to get a finger on it just enough to knock it out. So that was a great play by him. But defensively, man, kids are just they're playing with a lot of confidence, and when you do that, you play a little bit faster. So proud of them.
To your point about some of those players, you got Carson Klein, Wesley, I think Lucas, all play baseball. All have been starters for maybe going on 3 years or something like that. I mean, it's pretty. A lot of times people encourage kids. Okay, you got to specialize, especially if you play year-round baseball, travel ball, and all. So, I mean, I think it speaks highly of Lake Highlands and your program that. I mean, some of these programs they don't do that. That you got guys that are dedicated to a few different sports.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of specialization, and so I wish we had more kids that would play all the sports. And I love off season, and I love getting kids in the weight room and having that time to build them and work on mental toughness and some leadership things. But I don't know that anything prepares a kid to compete like competition. And so when you have somebody who is competing year round, they go from football to basketball to baseball or track. Those kids are usually the kids that are difference makers. And I try to remind, and it is hard. And you said our parents get into this mode where we're not, if he doesn't specialize now, he's not going to be able to go to the next level, or he's not going to be able to make the team, or whatever that is. And I disagree with that. And I think for Lake Highlands to be, for us to kind of take this thing to the next level, we need more multi-sport athletes.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some football players playing basketball. Getting down in the paint, and boxing out. I'd love to see some basketball players playing football. I'd like to see more football players stick with baseball, and more baseball players stick with football. And I think if we do that, it would build more of a community here. I think from a culture standpoint, it's easier to build a culture when kids are in programs, again, competing for their school, competing for their community year round. And we're not there, but this is a great example. I mean, you look at the names you mentioned. I mean, those guys are what Lake Highlands is all about.
Yeah, well said. I had some basketball coaches that wished I had tried some other sports. It is the Boneyard podcast as we continue on, and this is an exciting time of each week's podcast. And boy, I think even you have people vying for this spot. You may notice in the coming weeks people maybe even doing harder work than usual behind the scenes. But the Unsung Hero award winner, who do we have this week?
Okay, so our Unsung Hero, and this is it really is hard, Matt. I mean, because golly, we have such good kids, and as I start going through the list, and the coaches have been getting into it. The coaches are, they help me. Hey, have you thought about so and so? Have you thought about this guy? For the, but we have a lot of them. I may get to the point where I'm going to have to do more than one Unsung Hero each week. But this week it is, he's a crowd favorite. His name is Sambo Maya Kapongo.
Nice.
Sambo Maya Kapongo. Sambo is a kid that has been in our program all 4 years. He was a freshman B-team kid. He was a JV B-teamer. And a lot of times, and too many times, kids will get into the program, and when they get on the B-team, they feel like they're labeled. And then when you're on the JV, B team as a junior, again, they feel like that they're labeled, and they lose for whatever that is. Some guys like spotlight and different things, and when you have a kid that stays in your program and does it the way Sambo's done it, man, it's to me, it's what it's all about, right? I want football to be fun for kids. I want for kids to be able to find ways to have some meaningful snaps, and I can do that at the sub-varsity level, and Sambo's had an opportunity to get some of that. Now this year he's a senior on the varsity, and he doesn't get a lot of playing time, but he is the same kid every day. He walks in with a smile on his face, fist bumping coaches, just happy to be. Today was we're out for fair day, and so there's no school. And Sambo found a ride, and he got up here, and he was at practice early, and he was in meetings this morning, and just is he's a great teammate, and he is in high school athletics for the right reasons. I think he's benefiting from it, and him being a part of this program, the coaches, and I think his teammates are benefiting from it. But Sambo moved here when he was 3 years old from the Congo. His family moved from the Congo. He's got a brother that's an 8th grader coming up. I'm trying to talk Sambo into getting his brother into football. And he's got an 11th grade or a junior brother up here at the high school that's in our special needs program. And so Sambo helps take care of him when he's not here at school. He went to Aiken Elementary, Forest Meadow Junior High. Again, he's been in our program for 4 years. And I was talking to him earlier and asking him, hey, Sambo, what do you want to do after high school? What kind of things are you looking at? And he's still, he's kind of undecided. He, maybe a firefighter, maybe a Marine, kind of keeping that athletic aspect. Yeah. And then he thought he might be a repairman too. His dad's a repairman. Okay. So anyway, Sambo Maya Kapongo. Say that with me. Maya Kapongo.
Maya Kapongo.
And at some point, this is kind of like Dodo. At some point, we're gonna get Sambo a ball on a Friday night, whether we throw it to him or pitch it to him or hand it to him. At some point, that's going to happen, and when it does, you're going to see the stadium explode. People love him that way, right? They want for him to have success, so we're looking forward to that. Sambo Maya Kapongo.
I love it. I feel like we ought to have like the Unsung Hero Award, like helmet sticker. Like when you win that, you could get maybe for the future.
Not a bad idea.
Mike Black, our benefactor, our sponsor. Eagle Cleanup, by the way, great job. I love what they do in supporting us, and we've kind of created some other ways. If you want to get involved with the podcast, you can do that. But love Mike Black. He's got kids that are coming up in the program, and he loves Lake Highlands. And Eagle Cleanup, they do an incredible job. And some of these work sites, they clean them up and get it kind of going again. And I'm telling you, you've seen these streets where they have those enormous like bins where they're building and all that kind of thing. And Mike comes in there and just gets that all out of there and does a tremendous job with that. Now, Lonnie, we've come to the time of the podcast where we get I slip my sunglasses on here, and we talk about the history a little bit. And this week, and I wanted you to talk about this for a minute, it's pretty cool to showcase this is homecoming week, HOCO, the kids call it. I don't think we did that, did we, Lonnie? We were coming up. So. This week's homecoming game will showcase the 1981 state championship team, and it's always great to celebrate that team, and you know people that were a part of that, and some of them still live in the community, but that is just something that we in this community take a huge amount of pride in. How excited are you to honor that team, and what are a couple of things we may do to honor that group?
Okay, so yeah, man, what a great opportunity for us. And I talked to the kids about this after the MacArthur win. They're all down on a knee after we play the alma mater, and I'm addressing the kids post game, and I told them that the 81 state championship team is going to be here next week in attendance, watching them play, and man, they got excited about that. So it's this group, even though we don't necessarily have relationships with them and may not know them, they're royalty to us. And I was writing up a little blurb for the Coach's Corner in the All Sports program this weekend, and we have such great tradition here, and who knows where that tradition really started, but how can you not think that the 1981 team that was the best of the best, right, and what we love to do and we're passionate about and we're striving to do what they did. So I really believe that group had so much to do with what happened here in the 90s, and then even the way our kids love and our parents love and our community loves the program now. It starts with the 1981 guys, and what an amazing job they did. So proud of them, happy that they're going to be in town. I know we're going to have coaches that were on that team, or coaches from that team. We're going to have players. I've been working with Dr. Bob Iden, who was a coach on that squad, and he's kind of getting some things together. Scott Johnson, who used to be the Booster Club president here, so his kids came through here and played. Scott Johnson, been working with him a little bit. I got a phone call today from John Abbott, and John owns Abbott Labels right over here near Lake Highlands, so he's still local. He played on that team. He gave me a tour of his plant, and it's been a while back, but he gave me a tour, and he's got a couple of his high school buddies that play ball with him that are working in the front office over there at Abbott Labels. So it's fun, to see just what this game means, and when you do it at the highest level, just the bonds that are created from that. We're having a giant banner made for that to recognize and represent that 81 team. We're going to hang it in the MAC in our indoor facility. It's going to be 8 foot wide by 16 foot tall. It's got a picture of the team on it. It's got their schedule from the 81 season. I don't know that I'll have that banner in place on Friday night to show them, but I do have the artwork, and we'll pop that up on the Jumbotron as those guys are getting introduced.
Maybe like a replica of it, and let them run through it, let them kind of separate. But
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we want to get these guys running or not. They used to be able to run, man. I don't.
Yeah. Some of them we don't want to
sign liability waivers.
Yeah, exactly. But that's gonna be so much fun. The 81 team. Now, a little history on the Richardson High Eagles in Lake Highlands for the first 25 years of the series. So again, Glenn Gant doing the research for us. But he's been back in the archives. Things are kind of dusty back in there, but he's been able to locate all this, unearth all this information. The record was 11-12-1 in favor of RHS. Okay, everybody loves a good tie. And the winner of the game grabbed at least a share of the district crown 11 times. Currently, Lake Highlands, Lonnie, you've been a part of this, has now run out to a commanding lead in the series of 36-15-1. We want that to go to 37-15-1, obviously this Friday night. And then one of the most compelling game, perhaps in series history, happened in '92. And Roderick Newhouse, great friend of mine, he was a fullback on that team. The quarterback was Ryan Smith. Great friend who went on, played at Air Force and Abilene Christian, and put Corey McLean, who's considered one of the greatest to ever play for Lake Highlands, and then Dexter Ford, who went on to play running back at Baylor. Just a stacked team in '92, and there is some controversy in that particular game because there was a jersey switch that may have taken place, and one great player who apparently had a hole in his jersey ended up wearing the number of a tight end, lined up, and then caught a 63-yard touchdown. And so some people refer to that as Jersey Gate. I think the statute of limitations has passed. The UIL can't do anything about that. That would have been back in 1992. And again, as it went on, my wife would kill me, by the way. He did add that somehow on that year that Meredith was like the Highlandet golden girl of that month or something.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll add that. We may need to delete that. She probably wouldn't appreciate me, but that's a nice thing. Phil Dawson was involved in some of those games, obviously, who went on to be one of the greatest kickers in NFL history. So some unbelievable names. And Winston Duke was the coach of that Richardson High School team. And I think that may have caused Winston to do some things to try to even some things out, but that's a story for another day. Coach, fun. It's going to be a fun matchup. It's going to be a huge crowd, lots of moms, lots of things involved in the game, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Appreciate you doing this. Always fun and continued success.
Well, Matt and Frito, thank you guys for what you're doing. It's fun to get this information out to the community, and we get to talk about our kids and celebrate our program. And it is homecoming, and buddy, we're excited about it. We're ready to go. Everybody, whatever you're doing, drop it and come out to the game on Friday night. It'll be the best show in town.
All right, and for his services, we will be purchasing Coach Jordan a corny dog today on Fair Day out at the great State Fair of Texas. For Coach Jordan and Frito Nation Productions, Mark Frito Freeman, I'm Matt Mosley. Good night. This has been the Boneyard Podcast.